going to be no editing here, guys.
It's just
what you see is what you get.
Exactly. So how are you guys doing? Sleep well, eat well,
Lovely.
exercising,
Definitely.
taking care of the
Definitely.
family. No tickly throat or dry cough.
None.
Okay, good.
None.
Good.
Grateful.
Same here. Yeah, doing good.
We are doing good. So me and Joey are learning how to do computer coding.
Cool.
We're doing code.
Wow.
We're doing Code Academy together.
Nice. Speaking a different
Wow.
language, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool, man. It's like, well, being in this kind of situation, it's like, me and you were talking about that yesterday, Tim. It's like, this is the time to do the things that you wouldn't normally do in the day-to-day busy life, where we're just kind of going through the same patterns, and we get to really do whatever we want. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
it
Well,
is.
you know what I've been doing is I've been studying the history of recessions in America.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So many cycles, huh?
Well, you know how many recessions America's had? Counting our current one, that's the global pandemic that's happening?
How many recessions?
Yes.
So since the inception of our country, 17?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say on average happens every 10, 12 years, maybe?
Before the end of the 19th century, is happening every 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
There's been 50,
50.
including economic panics that weren't technically recessions because they couldn't properly track unemployment. There wasn't a primary market and all that, but it was still focused around what was happening with the main bank. And then there was a second main bank, and then there was upheaval that happened because of that. And historically, there has been recessions 50 times. Now, the shortest recessions have been happening post the Great Depression of 1929.
So how are they measuring recessions back before they had the, 3/4 of consistent non-growth? Is that what it is?
Exactly. What they would look at, they would call them economic panics, but in turn they really were recessions. And what they were basing on, of course, was central bank activity, lack of funds, lack of growth with whatever small economic sectors that were happening, especially amongst the first 13 colonies too.
Right.
It's been something that's happened time and time and time again, and we come out of it time and time and time again.
Yeah, I mean that's the bottom line. I mean,
Well, wasn't the and I haven't, my American history is a little rusty, even though I've had a lot of time to freshen up on it. But didn't the Federal Reserve wasn't that established post the Great Depression? So as a counterbalance to regulate banks?
Yeah. Yes. Well, and what happened was, one of the main reasons why the Great Depression happened is because the Fed would not step in and help the big banks. So people were taking money out all the time, and the banks all of a sudden had almost no liquidity, zero liquidity.
that's when the Federal Reserve was established.
Well, and that's also when the FDIC was established for that too. So people wouldn't feel compelled to take out all their money.
Right.
Because it comes down to, at the end of the day, it always comes down to liquidity.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, and then this is, forgive my ignorance on this, but what about FHA? That was much later, right? Like,
Yes.
that's like the 70s?
FHA was established in
That was
the
around
30s.
Nixon.
It was established in the 30s.
Really?
FHA loans were?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Fannie and Freddie were during Nixon's.
correct. That's
But
the 80s.
FHA was 30s.
But I mean, if you think about it, the whole idea behind the concept of FHA and Fannie and Freddie is, again, liquidity and having the ability to almost have assembly line fashion, home ownership for people, right? Where you can, have people fit in the box and have the average person own a home, where before the average person was not able to really own a home.
To put 20% down and have the money to do so, right? Right. Yeah. Well, that segues into, what's going on now. Like, I think there's a lot of questions out there about how the federal government's involvement, with the pandemic and buying up mortgage-backed securities, and also, their stimulus package. There's the forbearance option is out there, which is just basically stalling your payments for or tacking them onto the back of the loan, or until your forbearance is or until that agreement's up, then you got to pay that back, right? This is my understanding, which I think it could be a good thing, and as long as it's utilized right. I think that's the kind of what needs to be really carefully explained, is that this is not just something a free loan, right? This is just stalling and giving you time to go through whatever, if you were exposed to COVID-19 and you're dealing with that and out of work, or you're out of work because of the shelter in place, and you're unable to make those payments. It gives you that time to basically wait it out, right? And that's my understanding. So yeah, elaborate.
Well, but also too, it's very important that people contact their servicers directly, and that has been that could become a grandiose issue if they don't.
So what's the difference between my bank and a servicer? Like, I don't, how does that?
So let's say, Tim, that you buy a house. You work with Joe or myself, and at Loan Depot, we are representing, and let's say you do a Fannie Mae loan or a Freddie Mac loan. So these are the agency loans. We are the broker that is, if you would say, providing the loan, but then it gets sold again on the open market, and it's all about being picked up by the investors. But just because we do that does not mean that we service the loan. So there are people like Mr. Cooper, Cynthia, who are known for doing a lot of servicing of loans. And then there are people like Wells Fargo, who they do their own loans, or NationStar, they do their own loans, but then they're also servicers too.
And this has to do, and thank you for that. That's very helpful, because I know there's some confusion there with that comes up, about, wait a minute, Wells Fargo did my loan, and or Loan Depot did my loan, and where do I go to to find out information? I guess it's going to be on your state, and that's the thing. It can change multiple times too, right?
You don't believe it.
Have the same, right. Okay.
Yeah, you're actually probably going to see more of that.
Right. You better believe that too.
So this is just the beginning step. So these servicers, right, have been getting paid to service a loan. That was their service. And so now, traditionally they have to take that payment, and then they got to pass on, the payments to the investor, and they get a servicing fee for doing that. So this is where liquidity becomes the big issue for a lot of these servicers, where you can account for maybe a fallout of people not making their payments 10 to maybe even 25%. But now when you have 50% or even more of the people that you're servicing not making their payments for 1, 2, 3 months, the liquidity issue with that is tremendous.
Right.
And it's going to have a very far-reaching impact, on the overall economy and on the mortgage business that hasn't even really begun yet.
Well, so let's talk about that. So then let's say there's a number of different things that are out there. The forbearance is one. The other one is the, we hear in California, Gavin Newsom saying, hey, there are banks that are just going to say, hey, we're not going to require a payment for 90 days potentially. A few banks have jumped onto that. Also, if you're a renter or a tenant, that evictions won't go into place through this the shelter in place, right? So that's along the same line, or do you know more about that, or is that something completely different than the forbearance?
Well, with the forbearance, it really comes down to, no matter what, the servicers are responsible for that mortgage payment. So they in essence are taking it on. They're taking it on, assuming that they'll be getting X amount of payments from that loan. So if they're not receiving that money, they're still responsible for it in some shape or fashion.
Sure.
That's where you start having more of this servicing fear. Is now you have big banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, who service their own loans, and they're already getting more protected by the Fed through stimulus packages. But people like Mr. Cooper, Sinlar, the largest non-bank servicers, they're going to be more scared, and they're going to need some sort of a federal assistance to be able to cover these loans if it's, like Joe said, 25% or even greater of people not paying. They're still responsible for it. So that money has to come from somewhere to help protect them, or we could have major servicer fallout, and it could be real devastating for the mortgage industry as a whole.
So what I'm hearing though too is we really won't know until, we've been in the shelter for roughly 3 weeks.
4 months.
Or 4, yeah, right. Gosh. But we won't know how this is going to, the shelter is going to impact, or how people are going to react with either the ability to pay, paying, but maybe struggling to make payments. That will shake out, like you said, probably the next couple of months, 4 months maybe, until we.
Well, yeah, and here's the most important thing too, guys, is if you are a homeowner and you're struggling, the most important thing that you can do, and I think this is really talking straight to the consumer on this piece, is that you really just need to, like Matt said, contact your servicer right now.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of news. There's a lot of things that people are saying. For example, right? I've heard that some of these servicers are making you pay back the entire 3 months at the end of the 3 months. I heard that from somebody. However, I've also heard that it can be put on the back of the loan. My point to this is that I've heard conflicting information.
Same here.
The best thing to do, and this is pretty much anybody that I've closed a loan with in the last couple of years, is send them an email that gets them straight to how they can get in contact with their servicer, and that they will, let them know specifically. And I will tell you this too as well, is that every servicer is probably going to be a little bit different, and they are filtering in new information, as it comes in daily. Because in reality, the truth of the matter is this, right? The Fed's bailout package that they're basically putting together for this aspect, it really needs to address the mortgage servicing aspect, because otherwise, really what's going to happen here is it's going to be a game of hot potato. Essentially,
sure.
The ones left holding it, that don't have the ability to basically pay these investors are going to go bankrupt, right? So, these, as a consumer, what's most important to you is to not let that stuff happen. From what I do understand, is that it shouldn't affect your credit. I think that's the most important thing. If I'm a consumer wanting to make sure that, hey, if I apply for this forbearance, am I going to be affected on my credit? Because, that's important, because I got people right now, right? And you have too, Matt, that are looking to maybe refinance, right, at the lower rates today, or do this forbearance. Really, I would just say this, like, if you really are having a hardship, do the forbearance, right? Don't try to refinance, and you can't do both. You got to decide, hey, if you're really going through a hardship, you lost your job, contact your servicer, look at your options there, and then get the facts directly from them.
Yeah,
exactly, because we don't want to speak in conjecture on this at all, and every servicer is going to be handling it differently.
Yeah. Good response, Joe. Thanks for that clarification. So what are the other options too? Sell your house, potentially. That's not a great environment to do it in, but we are seeing, some calls come in asking about what's going on with the real estate market, how this is impacting home sales. On the 19th of last month, when the shelter in place went into effect, that impacted real estate, and we really just stopped business, or are required to stop business in order to comply with those rules, which were no person-to-person contact, which eliminates open houses, showings, property tours, and we're forced to move into a different arena to show properties, which is using technology as a resource, using our phones to make videos, using 3D cameras to do self-guided 3D tours, virtual tours. Also, I've seen agents step up with a lot of good information, just more detailed description about a house, and more photos, things of that nature, drone videos to really help get properties, get the exposure out there. But it's still, it doesn't substitute going to a house and actually walking in, of course. But I think what the goal is to focus, on what we can do and how we can still service clients, reaching out to them and sharing what information we have, and looking forward to preparing for what's to come, right? Because we know this is going to be permanent. What's that?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So this whole idea of days on market, right? And possibly, is there an ability are they doing anything from that standpoint? Because obviously, traditionally, if you're selling your house in this market, and the days on market can kind of impact, the perceived value of a home. Have they done anything to kind of try to, help in that situation?
Well, yeah, ironically, about a month ago, prior to this, the MLS changed their ruling on how they were going to treat the days on market. And it typically, how it was working prior to the change was that your home, if it was actively listed on the MLS, would have to be taken off the market for 90 days consecutively, and then it could be reintroduced as an new active listing, right? Which is, you get, it's like headline news. You get top of the MLS order. You come up on everybody's feed. You get the most activity. You're kind of the new kid on the block, right? Well, that rule changed to a 30-day requirement recently. So good news on that side is that if you're a homeowner and you're going through this, you want to take your home off the market, or maybe you're thinking about, testing the market, you have some more flexibility there. The MLS was posed with the question when the orders were put in place, and what the question was like, hey, you guys, since we can't show properties, why are we continuing to tally up days on market? It doesn't seem fair. Right. The MLS discussed it. They sent out several emails. Hey, we're looking into this, you guys. We're talking about it. They ultimately decided to continue moving forward with days on market because we're all in the same situation together. And the idea was that, look, if we're in this and everybody's impacted, the perception's going to be the same across the board. We're not going to go in and change the existing rules that are there right now. So, to answer your question, unfortunately, they did not stop the days on market based on the orders that came in on the 19th. But on the flip side, if you do want to go and strategize with pulling your home off the market, which I'm doing with a number of properties, and then reintroducing them after 30 days, you can do that. Absolutely can do that and still get the placement on the MLS and in everybody's feed on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, all the syndicated websites, and still show up as new and active, which does really help. I mean, and that coupled with new photos and new marketing materials, is a great way to kind of give a fresh look on your property.
Hey, Tim, one thing too, though, with this all being so unprecedented, right, is that it seems like it's a moving target. Wasn't there new rules that came out last night as far as showings with properties that don't have people living in the property? Anything you can elaborate on there?
Correct. Yeah. So as of last night, the association adopted the national guidelines for showings of real estate. So we were actually now listed as a essential business, but our limitations, of course. So as you're seeing it also impacted. I think grocery stores were in that update as far as having rules on how they're managing the flow of people inside of the grocery store, making sure they keep a safe distance, and very similar so in real estate. showing of vacant properties. I'm still not 100% on exactly how that's going to affect us. Waiting for more information to come out from up above to see how everybody's adapting to that. But good news is that you're right. Yes, we're getting a little bit of freedom now to go and actually be active out there in the real estate market, showing properties. So we'll see definitely more on that as that one unfolds.
So question of the hour here is, what do you think is going to happen with home values as a result of this?
I think we're going to see things continue to trend down a bit. I mean, that's I've been writing offers lately, and the sentiment is that as a buyer, they're looking at a larger pool of, well, not essentially a pool of listings, but less competition, right? So when you have a property that's on the market, you're kind of watching it, and you don't see any activity, it's not moving, you're more inclined to be more aggressive on your offer and go in at a lower price. So I see that trend continuing, and some flexibility in pricing, more of a buyer's market, right?
Well, that too, thinking about it too, is now with a lot of the change in jumbo financing and really a lot of those outlets on these higher priced homes, right? That's gonna drag down that part of the market. And then I think you'll still have people that are in that, lower, say between, 400 and 600,000. There's still buyers that are not going to have issues getting loans, and they're going to have a lot more leverage, you would think, in this situation.
But the people looking for $1 million loans will be a different situation.
Yeah, true. So it's going to impact that higher market. Absolutely. I think too, this is going to create is a bit of a backlog too, because of everybody, once the shelter's lifted, I think we're all going to come out of the gates ready to go. And, we've had time to prepare ourselves and do the things we can, right? So I have a good feeling that, there'll be some downward trend, but there'll also be a lot of more, floodgates opening, more buyers out there looking, just because now they can, and they're curious. They've been shopping online, and now they get an opportunity to actually go see this house. Let's go do it, right? So I have a feeling that and we're in that spring market.
Yeah, so I think we're still going to remain really strong between that, that median house price around here,
Yeah, absolutely.
And things will come back into the buyer's reach. Maybe we start seeing some homes that are in the mid to high fours possibly. And if that ends up happening, then it's going to be like if single family homes, you can buy something for low fives, high fours again around here, because the loans are still available and the liquidity is open for that. Like you said, that demand will flow in, I think, once the shelter is removed, and it should stay strong. And so I don't really foresee a huge, I think it'll be in that higher end market where we'll see a lot of decline, but it's still a supply issue, I believe.
Well, exactly. There's still a supply issue. So, right, it's going to be more of an equilibrium, a little better balance between buyers and sellers. But what we've talked about during our conversations throughout the last couple of weeks too is just the job market, and it restricted so much in the number of buyers out there, and it's gone down. So that's going to have an impact, and just affordability too. So that's where I think that's going to bring everything kind of into that.
And also too, it's going to be consumer. It's going to be consumer confidence, and I think we're going to really be seeing a lot of too in the next couple months. Who knows how much longer the SIP stays in effect? But we're not going to see people suddenly be like, "Okay, everyone, I'm out and about." It's going to be social easing. It's going to be people slowly trying to get reacquainted with what life was before all of this. And I think we're going to see that probably.
I'm going to get out and hug everybody, bro. I don't know. Come on.
Yes, there are the outliers, but I think, I do think though, in the general sense, we're going to see.
Hold on.
No social easing here, guys.
Dude, we're going to do the Milli Vanilli chest pump.
I no, it's a good point. I mean, even going to grocery stores right now and going out, it's like, gosh, going for a walk down the street, you're like, oh, I see somebody, you know, I'm over here.
6 feet.
I'm over here.
It
Sorry,
is the
like,
most crazy thing, isn't it?
Oh, it's someone knocked on my door. I'm like, what? Like, how dare you?
Yeah,
what are you
no, it
doing?
really is. It's such a strange.
Well,
It is.
I actually had a wine delivery last night, and typically when wine gets delivered, it's an adult beverage. You have to sign for it.
And you give them a hug,
Nothing. It was just on my front door.
right? No, I hear you. Well, kind of back to this, the employment thing. One of the things that I see is that's going to be the real variable, right? Because I think real time, man, next week and every week that they start, unraveling these numbers and more data comes out,
The next couple of weeks are going to be huge.
it's going to be huge. And what I think will be really important in the recovery of housing, particularly as it relates to employment, is how the agencies particularly are going to look at people who had basically unemployment during this time. And then, obviously if they're getting back to work, the hope
Right.
is that, my understanding is that, well, I shouldn't say my understanding. My hope would be that it's viewed as an extenuating circumstance and that it won't be frowned upon, essentially, that they had lost work and will be able to qualify for a loan. That way we can, keep this, market still going,
Right.
Well, especially if the market overall is rebounding.
Right.
And I think that the focus always has to come back to liquidity. And companies who have deeper pockets right now are going to sustain this quite well. There have been quite a few companies where CEOs are giving up their salaries to make sure that they keep people paid and jobs. There's a lot of different methodologies happening. You have two sides. You have the side that's like, okay, that's it, in this very draconian fashion. We're done. Go file unemployment. You have other companies like Cheesecake Factory. You have other companies that are like, no. We're going to, like Texas Roadhouse. I want to make sure that I'm keeping people employed. The job's important. This is for the greater good. So you have these two methodologies happening simultaneously. And unprecedented is what I've been saying time and time again. And a lot of other people are saying it's becoming very cliched, but it's true. Because even though we've gone through recessions before, even though we've gone through the global financial crisis that was caused by the mortgage business in 2008, what we're going through now is really so external that we're internally trying to figure out how to properly not adjust so much as just weather it too.
Sure. Yeah. I think a lot of fear, and unfortunately, there's not much else on the radio, on the TV about reporting anything else, because not a lot's going on. So there's a level of you're just inundated with the data about what's going on with this situation, which it's great to be informed, but like we were talking about, Matt, how important it is to really be careful about how much you're absorbing too, because if you're making your decisions all fear-based, it's not a good place to be moving from. Take some time away, get outside, go for your runs, eat right, be healthy, and try to clear your head of some of the stuff going on out there for a little bit, give yourself a break, and then I think that takes that fear level down, looking at things objectively and the opportunities out there, because there will be opportunities through all this, right? I mean, that's what I think the big takeaway from situations like this in 2008 is so many people then, in 2010, 11, and 12 really benefited being able to get into real estate and buy properties at a very, very, very low cost and build a beautiful, real estate portfolio. And that may be another opportunity that comes around, maybe not, but there are opportunities out there that are going to come about from this too.
It's all about the attitude
Definitely.
and going through these, I mean, I got into the business in 2009 when you would have thought everything was crashing and getting.
Lucky you.
Well, I know. Well, that's what people say, and I say, it was the best time ever, because my attitude was like, hey, I'm fresh, let's go. When everybody that was used to making the easy money, right, were out of there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know, it's not about making easy money. It's about really going in with the right attitude, having the right perspective, and just really being excited about. I mean, I think the interesting thing about that I found in this, I've got this new spark of energy that I almost say that it's given more purpose, right? And I feel that even within our organization, we're all 6,600 employees at Loan Depot are all working from home, and we are doing record numbers, which is amazing. And I mean, we got people working, we're getting underwriters approve loans at, 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
Amazing. And so I think that, people in general are hopefully just, wow, if we have work to do right now and there's things that we can do that are making a difference, it makes it that much more meaningful, for those people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're helping people. We're helping them financially, all three of us. We're helping them achieve dreams. We're helping them with affordability. We're helping them seize the emotional place they want to be in. I mean, there's so much with that. And all this that's going on doesn't stop us from trying to achieve that for people and keeping your eye on the prize.
Eyes on the prize. And see, I can do it all here in my boardroom.
Yeah, your virtual boardroom.
Oh. Hey, did you guys know we can do Facebook Live from here directly?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention the other day.
I was gonna do it, but you know what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Next time we're gonna do that.
Let's do that.
Totally.
Sounds good.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's do it.
gentlemen,
Yeah.
I mean, I think as always, good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop our recording right now. So thank you everybody who has tuned in and got some information out of this. We're gonna continue to do this, and we're gonna go live next time. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
look forward to hugs from Joe after all this. You can send him a virtual hug now if you want. Just wrap
Chest
your-
bumps.
Yeah.
Chest bumps. Billy Vanilli time.
All right. Stay safe.